A pleasure to have you join us today on the program Healthy Living. I'm Adesu Wasawagia. Today we want to look at the ear. What can happen to the ear? How and when do you have to see a doctor? More so, yesterday was a day set aside by the United Nations to create more awareness on the use of the ear and what can go wrong with the ear. So today I have experts in the house, and they're going to be talking about the ear. Okay, so peradventure you have a problem with your ears, especially those of us who have this habit of putting our keys into our ears and putting any substance into the ear, or when your kids have issues with the ear, what you should do. So join me as I make welcome Reverend Sister Ngozi Onyeagwara. She is a professor and a consultant ENT from the University of Benin. ENT simply means ear, throat, and nose. It's a pleasure to have you join us today, Sister. All right, seated beside Sister is another doctor. Is a consultant ENT, Dr. Eustace Osegali. I hope I got that right.
Indeed.
A pleasure to have you join us. And seated beside him is Professor Amina Okaku. She's also a consultant ENT. So it's a full house today. When the world is celebrating World Ear Day, what do you expect? The house will be full with professionals who are eager to come and talk to us on this issue. So let me talk to you now, Reverend Sister Dr. Onyeagwara. I had to practice your name before coming on air. So, Sister, every year we have this special day to, create awareness on the use of the ear and everything. Please, can you tell us why that is being done?
Yes, every part of our body is so important, but one thing is we take them for granted.
Okay.
But WHO has decided to remind us of the need to take care of every part of our bodies.
Okay.
And today, or yesterday,
Sunday,
we did celebrate the World Hearing Day, and to remind us of the care we need to take of our ears.
Okay, Dr. Eustace, you're blessed among women. So talk to us. What are the things that can go wrong with the ear?
Okay. A lot of things can go wrong with the ear. The ear actually houses two sense organs, the sense organ for balance and the sense organ for hearing. Interestingly, we are more people are more familiar, more used to the hearing problem. So when there's a problem with the ear, three things could happen. There could be deformity. If somebody's ear is cut off, the person will be out of shape. There could be deformity. Secondly, there could be hearing loss. Then thirdly, there can be imbalance. The person starts feeling dizzy, has a spinning sensation. So those are the things that
you mean problem in the ear can actually make somebody feel dizzy, feel imbalanced?
Yes, the person can't even move. The person just feels everywhere is turning around. And interestingly, people don't normally take too much note of this, except us or our ill patients. The ear is very close to the brain. So serious ear diseases can spread to the brain. At that time, the person can come up with convulsions, different manners of seizures.
Just from something from the ear.
Yes, from ear discharge, not taken seriously. The patient can even present to us unconscious. And we just have to take them to ICU, rush them for surgeries. A lot of them make it, but a few do not come out alive from just an ear discharge, just because the ear is a close neighbor to the brain. So when you say what could happen when there's a problem with the ear, there are a lot of things that can happen.
That's fantastic. I'm hearing for the first time that something happened to your ears can actually knock you down real good. Okay, Dr. Amina, you look pretty though. So let's talk about, let's look at the kids, because our children put a lot of foreign bodies in their ears. And I've actually seen somebody trying to use a pin to extract a bead out of a child's ear. Let's look at care for our children's ears. What should we do? What shouldn't we do? And what kind of problems should take us straight up to the hospital?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. I want to say that a child could be born with hearing loss, and what we advocate right now is that all children should be screened for hearing loss at birth, just like we screen for other anomalies in newborn babies. We should also screen for hearing loss, and we have capacity to do this now in the country. So every parent should take advantage of this service and ensure that they screen their children at birth for hearing loss. Because once a child is diagnosed as having hearing loss, the earlier intervention would be taken, and this gives the child opportunity to be at par with their hearing counterpart. Other things that can affect children, very common diseases that affect children include acute otitis media, which is very common among children because of their anatomical disposition. Parents should be aware of this, and the common mistake many parents make is when acute otitis media occurs, most parents think it's just malaria because we are in a malaria endemic zone. So it's very important that people, even health professionals, are aware that not every fever is malaria. So we should look into the ear. Another thing, you talked about foreign bodies. Yes, children by their very nature, they are very inquisitive, so the tendency is for them to insert things by themselves or their friends insert things into their ear for safekeeping. So beads,
For safekeeping, really, a bank.
beads, all sorts of foreign bodies can go into the ear. But what we advocate is that if you think your child has a foreign body in the ear, you have no business whatsoever manipulating that foreign body. You can only cause more damage. So the best advice I would give to anybody that thinks his or her child has a foreign body in the ear is to get to the hospital, see it. It's not even all doctors that can tackle foreign bodies in these special places. So meet an ENT surgeon, they will remove this foreign body. So because removal of foreign body has its own complications. So this is what we advocate. There can be foreign body anywhere, but especially in the ear, a specialist that is skilled in the removal of the foreign body or management of foreign bodies should be the person that is approached. A lot of other things can happen to children as concerns their ear, but vigilance is the key in this situation.
Okay, Reverend Sister Dr. Ngozi, you know, I read somewhere, and I'm sure I've talked about Dr. Eustace, and I have talked about that too, the use of cotton bud. You know, I keep hearing people say you don't need cotton bud for your ear. So where do we need cotton bud, if not the ear?
Actually, cotton bud was not made initially for ear. Cotton bud was used initially for the navel of the baby.
Okay, not
the
ear.
Not the ear. But as time, went on, people think they can use cotton bud in the ear or anything. But the danger is, manufacturers know how to attract us. So they made them cheap. Before, if you travel, you see cotton bud in a good pack, well sealed. Now they are in waterproof for 1 naira, 10 naira, so that along the road you see people hawking cotton bud, and everybody is taking it and for the pleasure it gives. But then, how hygienic is cotton bud? And because it can also cause infection in the ear, leading to ear discharge. Even in the course of cleaning your ear, somebody can just playfully come in and want to play with you, and then just burst the eardrum, and the consequences will come on. So we don't advocate that people continue to use cotton bud. If your ear itches, you can just do something like this and be able to take care of that. But people want to enjoy and sleep. They even use feathers, they use keys, they use all sorts of things.
We use everything. We use barrel, we use matchstick.
That is the mindset WHO wants people to change, that those things are not good for your use.
Okay, Dr. Segale, when we have wax in the ear, what are we supposed to do? When your ear itches, what are you supposed to do? Just hitting the ear. Of course, the fingers cannot go into the ear, to that area where you really want it to go to. Because I read somewhere where it was said that once, it's one of your journals that you cannot put something smaller than the
in your ear, something bigger than your elbow.
That is, I don't understand. So then how do we scratch our ear, Dr. Eustace? With the wax and everything. You see some persons with so much wax in the ear, it can be very irritating. Very irritating. So how do we clean our ears then?
I'll start from the beginning. If your ear itches you, you can apply some pressure on what we call the tragus. You itch it like this. For some people, when they do this, it's able to relieve the symptom or
but
the
those of us who are
discomfort.
used to dipping cotton bud, you know, inside, you know, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, when you do this and it relieves you, good enough. But for a lot of people, it won't relieve you. Then you can come to us because you cannot see your ears. Even with a mirror, it will be difficult for you to see your ears. But we can see it. And when I'm examining a patient's ear, I use a light source. I will not go to the ear blindly.
Okay.
The ear, it has a canal, we call it the external auditory canal, that leads to the tympanic membrane. Even down the canal, there's a recess, there's a place that's even thinner. We call it the isthmus, where foreign bodies like to get lodged. So if you are poking your ear, trying to clean out wax, you are not even attempting to see it. You are going to end up causing more damage than good. Myself.
But what if somebody like your moms like us that use cotton bud in our kids? Stop.
Really? It's bad practice.
Stop.
Even
capital letters.
Even my colleague, if I see a younger colleague,
strong.
if I see a younger colleague poking it, treating the ear, trying to remove something from the ear without using light, I'll be very angry with him.
We don't do anything blindly.
You must use light so that you can see properly.
So we were trained, we know the anatomy of the ear, but we don't even go blindly. We use a light source. Then somebody that does not know the anatomy of the ear going blindly. I've seen several cases of tympanic membrane perforation, that's the eardrum, and the nice mother was just trying to nicely remove ear wax, and the patient such patient become our patient for a long time, and interestingly, it affects their hearing. They develop hearing loss. Some now have recurrent ear discharge. So if the ear is disturbing you, if there is any symptom, be it noise in the ear, we call tinnitus, be it discharge in the ear, being wax. At times the wax can be unsightly. It's even coming out. You present to the hospital and we're able to toilet out the wax or remove whatever is there.
By surgery or you just...
No.
Just common procedures.
Come on, we syringe it out. At times we can even give you some...
Pick it out.
Yeah, we pick it out. Sometimes we can give you olive oil, some medication, serum, and it melts out. There are things that can melt out wax. Sometimes it's not something that can be melted out. We have to toilet it out.
Okay, I saw a young man recently, very young boy, under 18. I was trying to talk to him and I realized that the guy cannot hear. He's not only deaf, he's also dumb. Now, what's the relationship between ear, throat, and nose? That's one. Then the second question, anybody can just answer. When somebody is deaf, permanently deaf, isn't there hope for that person? Maybe like hearing aid or something. So you could do one, doctor could do one, Dr. Eustace could do one.
All right, you know that before you detected that that young man was hard of hearing, you did several things.
Yes,
you
very
did
handsome
notice
young man.
it. You did notice it, yes, and that is why they call hearing loss the invisible disability. People that are blind have more sympathy from bystanders, not like the hearing loss. In fact, they are called several names because people do not know that he's hearing impaired. So for such people that are deaf, maybe profoundly deaf, their hope is not lost.
Okay.
Yes, thank God for technology. We have such things. If it doesn't benefit from a hearing aid, we have higher things. We have the cochlear implants. Though the cochlear implant is expensive, that technology is now available in the country.
It's not.
It's now available.
Okay, it's available now.
Yes.
So like a place like UBTH, it can be assessed.
No, UBTH doesn't currently do cochlear implants, but we have partners who do this.
Who do that?
Yes,
in so our Nigeria.
Yes,
so
yes,
that's fantastic.
Yes, it's just a bit expensive, but thank God that the technology is available.
And it will work for
works.
somebody who is
we have some people that have been implanted and their life is better for it. Yes.
They will not hear things strangely. You know, for somebody who has not heard for since birth.
What you are saying is it's very correct, because if you are prelingual, that means you became deaf before you started speaking. Your outcome is not as good as somebody that was already speaking and knew, because it's what you hear that you speak. So when somebody that is deaf, prelingually deaf is speaking, his way of speaking is different from somebody that had already acquired speech before becoming deaf.
Okay.
Yes, that's just the difference. But they will hear, and with the cochlear implantation, rehabilitation process goes on that will make them able to be integrated back into the society. Yes.
That's fantastic. Okay, Dr. Eustace Isegali, we should add.
Okay, yeah. Like Prof said, you do not hear, you do not speak if you can't hear. Children tend to acquire language very early. So if you take a child now, and you are speaking Bini for the child, speaking English for the child, you discover that the child just speaks the two languages fluently. But if a child is born deaf, and there are several things that can make a child to be born with hearing loss, from maternal infections. If the mother had an infection while she was pregnant, it could be transmitted to the baby, and the baby can become deaf. To drugs the mother consumes while she's having the baby, that could make the baby deaf. Then the baby could have things like neonatal jaundice. Neonatal illnesses can also make the baby deaf. Then drugs consumed to treat neonatal illnesses can also make the baby deaf. However, this can be found out early. As the baby is born, there are reflexes that we've taught our nurses to check for. If you shout at a child, the baby should be startled. Hear loudness, should be startled. But technology has gone beyond that. We have materials and equipment for neonatal hearing screening. That has been done in many parts of the world. Now, in the University of Benin Teaching Hospital, we are about to start doing some neonatal hearing screening for children that are just born.
That would be fantastic.
Yes, because when that happens, you're able to know on time that this child has hearing loss, and you start managing it on time. When you start managing it on time, the prognosis is better, because that early phase where the child acquires language, the child is able to acquire hearing. And I'm sure you grew up around here. I grew up around here. There's the people we call Odin. Those days when we were growing up in Benin, the Odin, they are very strong. Not really that they are very strong. They are frustrated, with due regards, because somebody that doesn't hear is quick to anger, because he feels everybody's mocking him, everybody's laughing at him. He's not able to communicate. Because he's not able to communicate, he can't tell you, I want water. He hits the floor. He hits his hand. He's frustrated. So growing up, children that couldn't talk, that couldn't speak, they were quick to anger. Before, and one, they have slapped a colleague, they've slapped. So we were very scared of the mute, so to speak. But as I started practicing as a doctor, I saw the reason. That's why some of the passion, that's why World WHO takes this seriously. That's why we as ENT surgeons, we take this up seriously. We should be able to catch hearing loss early, manage it, and do not allow it frustrate the child and frustrate the family, because it's not only the child that is frustrated at the end of the day.
Family too.
The family and the society get to feel it.
And most family get to abandon them to their fate. Say, I beg, I don't tire, that kind of a thing. Another time they will say they do them. You know, some people say that, they say, oh, this is spiritual. Instead of going to the hospital, we start running from pillar to post.
That is why we need the government to take an active part
in all of this.
In all of this, because once hearing loss has occurred, managing it could be quite expensive and a burden for the family. So we need the government to play a more active role. Okay,
sister, thank God you are a clergy, you belong to a religious body. Why is it that when there is a problem, we're quick to we're quick to point into spiritual angle? And then some persons, rather than go to the hospital, they go to the church. And like they say in local parlance, when water don't pass Gary, that's when you see these people pushing them. Okay, you cannot go to the hospital. Oh, sister, we just talk to us in just a minute, because our time is up.
That's the bane of Nigeria, because everything and nobody says what is the way forward in the church. And some of our clergy claim to do what they cannot do.
Yes,
for
miracles.
Such children that are not hearing, there are schools for the deaf they could attend.
And they will become somebody in future.
Yes. The community can gather and buy at least hearing aid for those who can benefit from it. Otherwise, we are just talking about
the church can also buy rather than keeping a child in church, hoping that some miracle. Exactly. I believe in miracles, though. Exactly. But when you, as a clergy, does not have the powers to admit it and let that child go and get saved somewhere.
They will tell the child a wizard. Oh. And they do all sorts of things, you know, they are casting and binding and all that, and that's not the issue.
Okay.
We don't take on what we don't know about and what we cannot do.
All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Well, can I just quickly mention this?
In 30 seconds, please.
Well, there are other causes of hearing loss that I think are quite important. Recreational hearing loss. Young adults, they listen to loud music at times with their personal listening devices, put it on very high volumes, and for a long time they develop hearing loss. Your vulcanizer, the woman grinding tomatoes in the market, every day the grinding machine, over time, yes, you get hearing loss. But it's so easy to put.
Okay, Doctor, you know what is that going to happen? We're going to do this on the radio section on Thursday. Right, and at least we have more time to do that. At least we have about 45-50 minutes to run that. But here, we have just lesser time to do. So thank you for finding time to be with us here today. All right, people, this is it. Thank you for watching. I hope and pray that, like Sister said, you will not joke with your health under the guise of being religious or being churchious or being a miracle worker or whatever you want to say. And for those of us who put our keys into our ears and every other thing, according to Professor Aisha, stop. So Professor Amina rather, stop, okay? So we'll see you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you.